Hello, hello. All right, guys. So let's get going with this. Lots to cover today. For the longest time, I have been searching for the answer to this. Make sure you guys share this. Let me start off with, my name is Raven Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Autism Mama Rocks IEP, and I help parents gain the knowledge and the confidence to become the CEO of their IEP meeting. Hi, Stephanie. How are you? You're like my neighbor. So for the longest time, and post a 1 below if you're first through third time catching me live. Post a 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. So 1 below if it's your first through third time catching me live. 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. So for those of you who know, my expertise, if you will, my extra training, if you will, is in reading and behavior. Very passionate about both, all things special ed, IEP related, but those are 2 of my passions, okay? My daughter was failed by the system, and the system is something else, as you guys know. But bottom line, it was a failure in most areas, but specifically in reading. And the reading program that she was using, all right, is one of the nation's, there's 2, okay, most popular early literacy programs. I have all my notes, guys, because this is a lot of information. And it has been the center of debate for the longest time. And I thank everyone who went into this and all of the research behind it that has finally, why schools are still using it, I don't know. But what I will tell you is more and more schools are going, it's already, I'm on the group already, is already getting rid of it. They are a lot of doctors in education, specializing in early literacy, have said that it is causing a lot of question and making school superintendents and staff at the upper level in administration start to question. Okay. So that 1 out of the 2 programs, okay, early literacy programs that are used the most in schools today. All right. Now, I will say before I name them, okay, that there are multiple states now that have adapted the change. And we're going to get to that. Okay. I know I'm being kind of vague at this moment. All right. They have adapted the change and they have changed over. Okay. So that's important to understand. It's important to realize, and it's important to understand that the changes have got to be made immediately. The reason our children are not learning to read is because of these reasons. And it is not okay. It is not something that needs to continue. And if you're not sure if your child can read or not, the best way to find out is to make sure that you have a norm-based test. Or you know what? For the next 5 days, if you contact me, I will personally set you up with Linda Mood Bell, and I will get you the $99 evaluation that they do, that they normally charge anywhere from $500 to $800. So you have 5 days. I'll post that. I'll give you 5 days. All right. It's so important to understand that there is a huge difference, okay, between balanced literacy and structured literacy. Okay. Remember that. So that program that failed my child, that is now being put into question because of research and science, and according to the National Institute of Reading, and it's the National Reading Panel. And then also in regards to Education Weekly and the research that they did multiple surveys as well, along with multiple other places who went into what they called the dig deeper approach to figuring out, with rubrics and other ways in which they measured reading programs, the success of them, and the checkoffs of what they needed to cover in order for our children to learn, and the proven way in which our children learn. Also in the checkoffs, basically, so to speak, it is, my puppy's like bothering me. It is one of those things where there's certain things that has to be within that program for it to be effective and in alignment with the science of reading. Okay. That is what has the enormous amount of science, of course, but research, peer-based research. And it goes on and on and on and on. Okay. That I talk about Linda Mood Bell a lot. Why? Because it has 35 years of research. Okay. I tell people they couldn't charge what they do if they didn't work. Okay. And so in this situation, it's kind of interesting how you get what you pay for. All right. So meaning what Linda Mood Bell puts into their system versus what school districts are putting into their systems and their approach. Okay. So my daughter was failed by Fontes and Pinnell. Okay. So it is one of 2 huge reading programs, all right, that is used today that is failing our children. Okay. There's multiple schools in the state of Texas, and in other areas, in my state, and in multiple other states, in New York, and it's unfortunate, and it is scary. The biggest issue is the fact that it's not covering and passing a lot of the areas in which they have to pass to be a proficient and effective reading program. The problem too that's happening is schools are using, and this has been said to me in a IEP recently that I've been in, is, we don't just use Fontes and Pinnell, we use a mixture of things. Well, there's a problem right there. There is one way really in which to teach reading. Okay. Now everybody approaches it differently. You know, how you would teach it, how I would teach it, a little bit different. That's not what I'm talking about. But how it should flow is how it should flow. You don't, deviate from that. And if just going back to Linda Mood Bell, for those of you who don't know them, look them up. They have so much research behind them. But their approach is very much a structured literacy approach. They just have their own name for it because they've been around for so long and they're so successful. So with that said, let's get going with this, and I'm going to talk to you about everything that is going on so that you can, take note, take it with a grain of salt, take it or leave it, but the facts are there. All right. Just 293 IEPs that I did from August 2020 to August 2021. Almost every single one of those children, I didn't count, so I'm just going to say almost every single one, did Fontes and Pinnell. Another program that you do need to be mindful of, but you, and I'm sure that you've heard about it. So the number 2 program is called Reading by Design. Okay, so you have Fontes and Pinnell and Reading by Design. If you hear either of those names, a red flag needs to go up. Okay, Fontes and Pinnell and Reading by Design. All right. So that is very, very important to remember. Okay, so let's get going. If you have questions, start posting them. I'm actually covering up my comments so I don't see it, so that I can focus on what I'm going to tell you, and then I will look at comments and we'll talk about it. Okay. So when this was done, and it was where basically Fontes and Pinnell published their evaluations, and they have classroom and they have units of study. All right. Well, there's a place called the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project, along with multiple other experts, did a lot of this research to come up with what's going on today, which is, why are we in the reading wars? Why are so many children not literate? They're illiterate. And why are so many children struggling to read? Why are so many children so behind? Why are so many children making trivial progress and the school system's making excuses as to, oh, they have disabilities, they're going to learn slower? Well, damn it, we know that part, but that doesn't mean 3, 4, 5, 6 years behind. That means that they are going to learn slower, but all children can learn. And it is up to who is doing it in order for that child to learn. That's where the success lies. All right. The success lies in who is teaching. All right. Almost more so than the methodology. Okay. And that is very important. In the statistics, okay, and things that were done, and what I'll say is more teachers more than programs basically make for great literacy instruction. Okay. And in reports, it was shown where the younger and newer teachers, I hate saying it like that, sounds awful, but just take it what it is. It is what it is. Okay. Are open to the change and the change in the way that they are learning, because the schools need to invest in the teachers. The teachers then need to learn the new approach. All right. Because it's not something as teachers we learn in school. And the teachers that have taught for 10 plus years or more are basically taking that information and kind of divvying it out and sprinkling it how they want to. Kind of like the school district that I dealt with, where they said, oh yeah, we're using Fontes and Pinnell, but we're also using a bunch of other different programs. Again, sprinkling a bunch of things everywhere. And that is not how children read. Okay. They have to be taught in a very systematic and explicit way. And if they're not, there's going to be gaps. There's going to be problems. That's why you see some children who have no word recognition, but they may have some phonemic awareness, or they don't have any comprehension, which is the end of the end. But they can, or they have comprehension, but they don't have decoding and fluency. There's all these different things. And when you sprinkle things get sprinkled in the way in which they learn. And that's not how you learn to read. There's a process in which you learn to read from beginning to end, not end, middle, beginning, end, middle. It's chaotic, and that's why there's not that fluent reader with that word recognition, vocabulary, and then the understanding, which is comprehension, and they can read them. Okay. Reading is when you can fully comprehend what you're reading because you understand vocabulary, you understand word recognition, and you're able to decode words. Of course, phonemic awareness and phonics and all those things go into play, but those are the learning processes in which to get you to the comprehension piece. But there's so many times where I have seen where a child who cannot even recognize words or struggles with vocabulary, instead of them having vocabulary goals, they have comprehension goals. That doesn't mean you ignore comprehension or that it should not be approached, but it definitely shouldn't be a goal at that time if that child is just kind of coming to, and they have their alphabet, they may have word recognition, but they don't have that full vocabulary piece. Okay, word recognition and vocabulary go together, and the understanding is where it will lead to then comprehension. Okay. When a child is reading, okay, and you hear from the school district that, oh, they read beautifully. Well, what they're talking about is fluency, their ability in which to read words. That means they can read a word, okay? They can sound it out, etc. Now, after they read 3, 4, 5, 6 sentences, and you ask them a series of questions, if they're unable to recall or retell what they just read, there's no processing happening and there's no comprehension, meaning they can't read. They can read words, but they can't read. Okay. When we read, I have to watch my puppy, sorry. We can fully understand and comprehend what it is that we're reading. That book, we can then retell it. I could tell you all excited about the book I just read and how awesome it was, and I can paint that picture and have that visual imagery in my mind in order to then express it out in writing or verbally. Okay, children who struggle with vocabulary and reading typically struggle with spelling and will most definitely struggle with written expression. So if they can't read, they're going to struggle in ELA, especially across the board. Then if you can't read, you're really going to struggle in social studies, and more than likely you're going to struggle in science. So we have to focus on this problem. It is a huge problem today. And in speaking with an attorney today in Texas, that boy, can we go at it? But I do have respect for her and, trying to come to this happy place. I think that finally, what I have been saying and saying and saying and saying is finally waking some people up, because it's not coming from left field. Research is now coming out to prove what I'm saying. And, it's one thing where we just know, please, somebody just understand that this isn't working. We already know that we're in a world where our kids are struggling to read. There's a reason behind it, And so now it's all coming to a head. Okay. So let's talk about that. Okay. So the two reports, these two programs, okay, the Reading by Design and Fontes and Pinnell, had the lowest ratings, and that was for K through 2 specifically, and then also grades 3 through 8. Okay, and they were the two reports that received the lowest in the K through 2. And they were one or two of three of the lowest in 3 through 8. Okay. So this was a national research. It was surveys and research from the Teachers Association. It was with a lot of surveys from multiple teachers, thousands and thousands of teachers. Also in reference to the Teachers College and Reading Writing Project, and a lot more went into this. So there is now a lot that's going behind the statements to back up why these programs are not working. Okay. they've faced a ton of criticism already. As you know, I talk about Fontes and Pinnell all the time and how much I can't stand them, and how the way in which the kids are learning is almost solely phonics based and does not expand into all the areas in which a child needs in order to learn to read. And so, specifically starting with that word recognition and vocabulary. Okay. So researchers found that the instructional methods that these two programs are using don't align, and in some cases contradict the research on how developing strong readers happens. All right. So an announcement is also coming up, and more units of study in regards to this. So more announcements are coming up. All right. So often these programs are teaching students to recognize and manipulate the sounds in words and then matching those sounds to written letters. And that's one of the main focuses of the critique. All right. It also is something that has renewed and caught the attention of many reading specialists, professors from multiple different colleges, and Education Weekly as well, in regards to the validity of a lot of things that are implemented within these programs. Fontes and Pinnell has a classroom and units of study. There's 2 of the 3 K through 12 reading programs, and they've gone through the education report updated review tools. And it talks about how they dug deeper into the sequencing of the foundational skills in which Fontes and Pinnell teaches. Okay. And the 2 women behind Fontes and Pinnell are of course, not happy about this and are putting out blogs and other things to try and support their programs. But bottom line, parents and educators, teachers especially, a lot of the surveys and a lot of the reports came from teachers on how these programs are not working, and how parents are irate at the fact that this has been an ongoing issue that parents have brought to tables and brought to the attention of staff and administration, and it has just gone ignored. And people are wondering, myself included, what is it that these programs are saying to districts in order to get them to buy it? And, funny enough, it all comes down to money. And, these programs are cheaper than others. Go online, check them out. Look how much they cost. Okay. Look how much Linda Mood Bell costs, and I also talked to a director at Linda Mood Bell today. And I asked him, he's right outside of Houston, Texas. I talk to many of them all over the United States. I work with all of them. So if I have a client in Louisiana, or if I have a client in Texas, or if I have a client in California, I send them to specific Linda Mood Bells. And so I've gotten to know them a lot, and they're the same across the board. You take that book, okay, that manual, and they follow it to a T. And that is not what school districts are doing. Okay, they are not taking a manual and a way in which to teach reading and then teaching it that way. All right, you cannot teach reading by whatever it is you want to just come up with that day in a lesson plan. It's a followed approach. They tell you what you're doing next, not you get to decide what you're doing that day. It doesn't work like that. Okay, it is a followed approach, and sometimes you got to go back a little bit to get more upfront and continue to move forward. And that's just how life is too, right? You go forward, and sometimes you're like, oh, you got stuck. You move back a little bit, you work on that, and then you get forward even more. All right, you get stuck, you work on it, you take a step back for a little bit, and then you keep moving forward. And that's how it works. Not, oh, what are we going to do today for reading? Let me pick in this book. It doesn't work like that. All right. And when things are done like that, and reading's taught in so many different ways across the board, it is not a clear way in which to teach to read. It's explicit and systematic. That's it. It is not a way. That is the way to teach. And this balanced literacy approach is something, really, I want to say man-made, but they're both man-made. But it's more of a way that school districts approached things than the way in which the science of reading outlines things. Okay. So moving forward, the reviews, this is a good one, have reached and influenced many states. Many states now, there's 38 of them. Tennessee is one of them, which I was very excited about, have taken on the systematic approach and are now following the science of reading and the alignment there. And it is super, super important that they keep in alignment with that. So schools are now starting to change the way they're doing things. Not all of them yet, but some of them. All right. So when we talk about research, Karen Weaver, she's a member of the Oakland NAACP Education Committee, and she's the co-founder of Fulcrum, an Oakland group that advocates for evidence-based literacy instruction. And they review different things. She is involved in multiple different panels across the United States. And she gave a lot of input when it came to this and the importance of structured literacy, and has helped it's 37 states, not 38 states, that have taken on this new approach and are following the science of reading. And it is even being entered into legislation. All right. So a lot of states are starting to take on this approach, but many states have not yet. And we're really not going to see any type of change until these approaches are done for a period of time. And if you hear Fontes and Pinnell and reading by design, you've got to run. I have a case where we will be filing for due process and mediation based on reading by design, and then another with Fontes and Pinnell. And, it's unfortunate. I pray to God we don't go to due process, but it's one of those things where you have to make that decision of, do you do everything in your power to do what you need to do? And then at the end of the day, win or lose, at least you did everything you possibly could, or do you just let it go? And obviously you can't let it go. Your child can't continue to be 3, 4, or 5 years behind, and you have to move forward. The report said that at least 1,084 districts use its reviews, including 89 out of the 200 largest districts in the country. There are about 13,400 school districts in the United States who are using Fontes and Pinnell and or reading by design. The Fontes and Pinnell classroom failed to pass the first gateway in K through 2. Reviews said that core text didn't meet standards for quality or complexity, and that speaking and writing assignments didn't require students to use evidence from the text they read. Fontes and Pinnell's text leveling system, hate that system. Your child reads at a level 8. Your child reads at a level G. Okay, that is in accordance to the program, not where your child actually is. So when you want to test your child, you need to test them against a norm-based assessment. The reason for that, even though it's not where your child is, and you've probably heard me in live say a norm-based test isn't where your child exactly is per se, where their independent level is, but it's where they are in comparison to children their age and their grade. And that is a way in which you can see where they lie in that crowd. Okay. So you're able to gauge, okay, how far behind are they? And that is where we have to go with this portion. Of course, you want to know independently. All right. And that's another thing that Fontes and Pinnell will say. So, I just heard this yesterday. Oh, the child's reading at a level Q, but reading at a level, or they're reading at a level Q, but their independent level is a P. And because they're always moving forward, we really need to meet the child where they are and move forward. But it's this jacked up system and this leveling system that they use that is based off their program and doesn't accurately assess where your child is because it's based on benchmarks. And then schools are using what's called running records, both red flags. Running records is not a way in which to take data. It's a way in which to see where the child is on a daily basis, kind of, gauge where they are, etc. But it is not a way in which to gauge where your child is in a formal way. It's not something that's going to hold up in court. Okay. It's one of those things that is okay to do, for the teachers on a daily basis, but benchmarks are not a good way in which to measure where a child is. And running records, that's opinionated and is completely subjective. Okay. So it's not, again, not something you can go by. So, there's various different things that you want to take into consideration when you're hearing these things in meetings. Instead of being quiet, instead of staying quiet and listening to these types of things. Oh yeah, look at how your child's doing. Here you go. Look at this paper. No, you got to ask some questions. You got to ask what's going on. You got to ask how your child's being taught. You got to ask all these questions in order to get to the bottom of things. And it's just very important because, Fontes and Pinnell is really struggling because their program does not present research-based evidence based on explanation for sequence either of instruction. And this is what reviewers also found. They found that the foundational reading skills like phonological awareness and phonics lacks a cohesive and intentional scope of sequence. The review also notes that the material rely on cueing strategies. Bad. If you hear cueing, that's bad. For word identification, prompting students to draw on pictures, context, and sentence structure, along with letters to figure out what words say. I'm going to give you an example. I've done this on many different lives on how to teach vocabulary and how to explain how things are when it comes to your child recognizing words and then being able to understand them. And once they have that, then all they have to do, sir, is work on fluency. And once they work on fluency, comprehension is going to come. You understand and recognize a word. You understand the vocabulary. You have fluency. Comprehension's there automatically. I get confused why comprehension has to even be a goal. Now, questioning what they read, recall, should be a goal. And then the next day and the next day and the next day, and recall of what they're reading for a period of time. Because then what you're going to get is can that child tell a story based on what they just read? Can they write that story, so written expression of what they just read? And what is their long-term processing like and or short-term processing like when it comes to that story? Those are better goals than, okay, tell me the main character plot, all these different things, the things that I used to do as a kid, you want to know, can they recall? Can they retell? Can they paint that picture in their head and explain it to you, which is the retell portion? Can they recall different pieces within the paragraph or book that they read? And some may call that comprehension, all right? But it's not written how many different comprehension goals I have seen written. So a lot of the comprehension goals, how they're written, is not how they should be written in order to truly see what that child can retell you. And do they really understand what they're retelling you? Or did they just memorize key points within what they read. Okay. A lot of times a child with dyslexia, all right, my own child has dyslexia. She actually cannot do this, but she can, but she can't. But a lot of children who have dyslexia have amazing comprehension, but struggle with fluency and decoding. And so there's sometimes even word recognition. So, it's an interesting piece, because what happens is eventually, as they continue on in grade, they're going to start having a lot of issues. Kind of like I've said that, if a child has trouble in reading, they're going to come to a hard stop in math, because you got math, word problems, and you have to be able to understand what you're reading in order to solve that problem. And most states, state testing has word problems. So it's something that has to be taught and learned. And if your child is taking the state testing, and so that's where a lot of children who struggle to read kind of come to that hard stop in math. All right. So that's important to remember. So reviewers also found in Reading by Design and Fontes and Pinnell, text complexity lacking in grades 3 through 8. That there was, that they failed to have knowledge of letter sound correspondences to read through a word, making it less likely that they'll be able to map the spelling to the spoken word in their memory. That lacks a variety of regular standard aligned text-based listening and speaking opportunities, as well as opportunities for demand writing, systematic vocabulary development. I know this is boring, but it's so important that you need to know it. Okay. So one thing I found really important is Fontes and Pinnell. It's Irene Fontes and Gay Pinnell. Okay. They are really they're doing this 10 blog series and trying to back up their program. I mean, who wouldn't, right? And they're doing this 10 blog thing to back up their program. But the thing is it's failed so many times that they can back up or try to back up whatever they want. But it's failed so many children that it's over. Thank God. It's going to be over real soon. So it's interesting because they're trying to defend their program's use of cueing. Cueing is not good with reading. And other strategies that are central to their materials, but the studies have shown that they are actually ineffective, as well as special education reading groups, where they are putting special education, or it's happening in every school. It seems like they're putting special education to students and reading groups with like children like them. I mean, they get individual education plans, but there's children that are like them. I'm like, explain that shit to me. I mean, can someone explain that to me, please? How do you have an IEP? I being independent, individual, individualized, but you are like me, so we are going to be put in a group together because our individualized instruction is the same. I argue this all the time in schools on the sense that does not make, okay? It's so contradictory of itself. How do you give a child an individual education plan? Leo, no, sir. Oh my God, you guys, my kids are 16, 21, and 26, and I have this puppy, and I have gone back to the baby days, and I'm ready to lose my mind. No, sir. Okay, he's chewing on everything. Can you say hi to everybody? All right. Okay. So, and they do it when they're bored. Sounds like babies, right? Okay. So, another thing that was found is the phonics, spelling, word study components across its 20 elementary schools, along with, and this is Hall County. They use this piece of Fontes and Pinnell and the classroom-based portion. And it said that the phonics, the spelling, the word study components across 20 of their elementary schools the districts also use the benchmark assessment system, and it's failing kids. So it's a big deal. We're really in a mess with this. Review changes, address foundational skills and what they call program bloat. Okay. And the criterion evidence guides are more specific about when and how the skills should be taught, which is that explicit and systematic instruction. No, sir. And basically how things should be taught. So the review process concerns of what education and reports have said is called the bloat. Okay. School districts use the sprinkler method. They just sent out the report card for a district, and a huge portion of the students K through 12 were well under reading grade level. Yeah, it's happening a lot. So, yep. Hi, Cheryl. How are you? So part of me is like, finally, okay, I knew Pontus and Pinnell sucked. They failed my daughter. Of course, it's personal as well. But at the same time, it does come down to how your child's taught. It comes down to who's teaching your child and the expertise behind that individual. A lot of support must, in the research here, it said that, the support has to go behind the teachers. The administration must support their teachers in helping them learn the science of reading, that systematic and explicit approach, and in helping them teach reading in a way that is going to be effective, versus each and every teacher doing things in a different way, a different approach, a different thing every day, and it being kind of plucked from wherever it's chosen versus the book and the manual being followed from beginning to end. The fidelity of how a program is done is imperative. And if the program's not done from beginning to end, and if the program doesn't cover everything, then don't buy it. School districts shouldn't be buying it. And, then it definitely shouldn't be up to, pick your lesson plan for the day. That's not how it should be with reading. All right. As an educator and, as someone who knows multiple teachers, they're the ones who have said, no, we totally understand that reading would be, it would be a set thing each day. We wish it would be. Then we wouldn't have to make the lesson plans in it. If it's just given to us, we'd be able to do it and be done with it. And then training can go behind the things that they have to learn and ongoing training and all of that kind of stuff. And then updated training and things change and, all of those things. Teachers are busy. They're not keeping track of all of that all the time. And, if things change and all of that, they're focused on what they're doing and teaching the kids. And the blame is not on teachers. Now, do things come down to how the teachers teach in order for the child to read? Of course. But if the teacher's not teaching that way because that's not what they're given, they got to do what they got to do. They got to do what they got to do with what they got. They don't go out and buy the reading program. But I'll tell you this, the teachers are the ones saying this isn't working. And yet it's still what's provided by administration. Cognitive scientists and neuroscientists have found that, guessing is less efficient than sounding out words. So many kids will guess. I mean, I have heard parents say, oh, she's perfected guessing. If there's 4 answers, she's able to narrow it down to 2, and then she's got a 50-50 on if she gets it right. That's not learning to read. That's compensating and memorization and guessing. And when you're teaching students to read, and you're teaching on what's called a 3 cueing system, got to stop. All right. It's done a lot. I think it was the University of Arizona who encouraged the 3 cueing system. And that's when cognitive scientists and neuroscientists said that, guessing is less efficient than sounding out words. When you cue a child, I don't like the word cue. It's really prompt them into, or you can give cues, but, basically you're leading them to an answer, to a quick, easy guess. All right. And that's not effective. That's teaching them how to memorize and how to guess. All right. I've showed this approach before. I don't have a picture in front of me at all. I wish I did. Yeah, I don't. So just picture in your head, okay? If I showed you a picture of a frog and I just held up a picture for like 3 seconds, and then I said to the child, what did you see? And so then they would proceed to tell me what they saw. Maybe off, it may be on. But, say the frog, was green and had some brown around their legs and their feet and maybe portions of their back. And then, the child said that, and the child said, oh, the frog, jumps and hops, and then if they get stuck, then that's when you ask appropriate questions. All right. You don't tell them what the frog is or what the frog does. You ask them, is the frog green? Is the frog brown? What color are frogs? What do frogs eat? Do they have tongues? How long are their tongues? They're really long. If it was a picture of a pig. So this is the initial baby stages, K through 2. All right. Show a picture of a pig. The pig is, says oink, oink. The picture, it shows that the pig is most likely pink. Where do pigs live? Okay, they live on farms and wherever else they live. Just going through with the child for them to paint that image in their brain of what it is that they see when they look at the picture, only for 2 to 3 seconds. So they have to be able to recall and retell if they're understanding what that picture is. Okay, they're recalling that they just saw a pig, and they're retelling what a pig is. They're telling you, and describing it and painting that mental picture in their head. And then once you get pretty much some mastery in that area is when you're going to gradually move to the word. Okay, so then the word is going to be pig, P-I-G. And then they're going to then have to mentally create that image, movie, in their brain and be able to then express it to you of what it is. All right. Where does a pig live? What does a pig look like? What does a pig sound like? Is a pig an animal? Is a pig a bat? Is, you want to throw things out there in order to encourage them to tell you what that is, in order to be able to gauge, okay, does my child know what that is? If we walked through the zoo or we walked through a farm, would they know when they saw the pig that was a pig? And then if they saw that word, would they then be able to associate pig with that word? Okay, so you start off with the picture in those young grades, and then you say, tell me what this is. What is this about? Is it an animal? Is it a person? Is it a, playground equipment, etc.? And you want them to paint that picture for you. And that's a way in which to build those vocabulary and their vocabulary in order to get to that piece of comprehension that you're wanting to get to. The word recognition, once they have that picture, the word recognition is going to be another teaching strategy, because you then have to help them associate that word with that mental picture that they're able to paint if they saw a picture. Now they have to recognize the word, because they're not going to get some dainty little picture when they're continuing to read as they go up in level and grade. All right. You only get those little baby pictures and cool pictures for a period of time. I don't know what grade it ends, third, fourth grade. I don't know. Where you don't get pictures anymore, you know? So we have to steer them away after that baby stage from pictures, because when you read, you're not getting a bunch of pictures. All right. When you and I listen to Audible, we don't got pictures. We got that picture in our head that we paint from what we're listening to, that we're processing, right? When it's interesting, because the brain actually works a different way when you're processing something in an auditory way versus when you're visualizing something. You actually have to visualize it. And I don't know about you, but I've read all my life. I love to read, and I listen to Audible now, but if I read out loud, if I'm really getting excited about a book, will read out loud for a period of time. Sometimes I'm usually reading silently, but when a child reads silently, that really helps that fluency if they're able to silently read. All right. And then they're comprehending and learning to paint that picture. And, there's certain children where you want to teach them, let me know when you get to a word if you don't know that word, And so say they read to you and then they come to mom and dad or grandma and, say, what is this word? Tell me this word, and then you help them. Don't tell them what that word is. Don't tell them what it means. Help them paint that picture of that word. Okay. Write the word down on a piece of paper and help them create that mental picture. All right. Don't just tell them the word, because then they're going to memorize what you just told them. They need to be able to recognize it. Okay. So that's very important. All right. So this is a good one. All right. So tracking letter sounds. So what is the best way for school teachers to keep track of which letter sounds individual students in their classroom have mastered? All right. I have found in IEPs, one of my top questions is, how many sight and CVC words does that child know? And do you know, most teachers can't tell me. Very few. The ones that can and have it right there, they are on it. Impressive. Do you know how many teachers come to an IEP table not prepared? Where I've said, oh, okay, can you tell me this, 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 and this? Oh, I don't have that with me right now. You're at an IEP meeting. What do you mean you don't have that with you right now? I am not a fan of being unprepared. When you come to an IEP meeting, you better, especially if it's with me, you better be prepared. All right? Because you're going to get questions. It's going to throw you from one end of the spectrum to the other. And you're going to be all over the place with me if you're not prepared. All right? So I could be your friend and we can flow and we can bounce off each other, or it's not going to be good for you. And so when I'm asking questions, I ask direct questions to the point. You're going to have to go in some detail to tell me and paint me that picture of where that child is. So that's what needs to happen when you're talking to parents, when you're expressing how a child's doing. I encourage teachers, when they have parent-teacher conferences, that's your practice session for IEPs. Use it as a practice session. All right? Start communicating with the parent. Create a flow. If one, parent-teacher conference doesn't go the way you want it, okay, well, another parent's coming in 30 minutes. Try again. And so teachers have to teach themselves how to flow with that communication part and piece, because it doesn't come naturally to everybody. All right. To be able to be on it, be prepared. It's one thing to teach students and children. It's another thing to be able to level up with parents. All right. And advocates and even attorneys, because if you're put on a stand in the middle of a due process, you better know your stuff. You better know your stuff. All right. So you need to be, this is for teachers and for parents and for any type of caregiver, that, these are expectations that are across the board. Like them or not, they are what they are. And so you have to live up to these expectations, especially when it comes to reading, because I may like you, but if you're not teaching a child how to read, I'm going to tear you up one way and down the other in that meeting because it's unacceptable. And so I have teachers that love me because I've taught them how to write IEPs. I've taught them how to write goals appropriately. I've taught them how to write present levels appropriately so they don't get chewed out anymore. But then I have teachers that, they know it all. So, I don't know it all for sure. So I'm okay with that. But when you get that attitude and you're educating a child of, I know everything, I got this, you can't tell me anything, then that's when you're going to fail. Because I can't tell you how many times, I learn from the other end. I was talking to an attorney today where, boy, it's entertainment sometimes, like my parents have said, I need to just get out the popcorn because she and I can go at it, but at the end of the day, I do respect her. She's damn good at her job. We definitely can go head to head. And, it's one of those things where, but I have learned from her, but it goes both ways. And there's that respect there. It's kind of like you walk into a courtroom for attorneys. I'm not an attorney, but when they do their little horse and pony show, they leave and they go play golf, it's the same thing, but you can learn from each other. All right. I've learned from teachers. I've learned from other administration. I've learned from parents. I'm always wanting to learn. Always. Never will you find that I have an attitude of, don't tell me. I know, I'm telling you. That's not the way to go because we all have something to learn at all times. And, so for a teacher, I don't want to lecture you, but I want you to understand that I understand the tiredness of, oh my God, there's a lot going on and there's a lot, on your plates and that sort of thing. But we can't go around having the mentality that we're not going to learn more. And we're not going to be open to change because change can be an awesome thing. And that kind of chip on our shoulder, not because you're mean or you want to, but because things are just stressful right now and you're like, oh my God, another thing. It's going to be a mindfulness approach to deal with parents and to deal with advocates and to deal with students that are completely disrespectful, that are not special needs, to deal with parents that are completely disrespectful. But at the same time, still being able to be descriptive and understanding and empathetic on their side. And then most likely you will get that from them as well. And then you can then work together in order to do what's needed and appropriate for that child. So, I am so glad, I will say, that so many teachers have come out and voiced their thoughts and opinions to help in getting rid of some of these shit programs. Reading by Design and specifically Fontes and Pinnell, they both are on the hit list right now. And I pray to God they go away. I actually hope that parents sue the shit out of them. Anybody want to start that? Give me a call. For Fontes and Pinnell specifically. But on a serious note, be mindful of those two programs. If your school system's using it, fight it. Fight it. All right. I'm doing that in Texas and I am making headway. I think I've thrown enough of a shit fit that finally there's ears listening. And that is the first step. I got to say to myself, that is the first step to change. And it's got to change. And so if enough of you get together, you can create that change. Go to your legislators once a month, typically in every state. Normally in the capital of your state, but I don't know about, different areas, where you can go meet, your governor or your senator or whatever, and you can talk to them about things that are going on with education, and especially with special education. They are listening, and they are paying attention, and they are being mindful, and they're understanding, and changes are being made, slowly, and it's taking a while, but they are being made, which is breath. It's like where you can take that breath finally, kind of thing. But you just understand that, this is going to be a slow process, but in the meantime, it's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to you. And it's not acceptable for your child to be on a freaking letter. All right. Because guess what? The letter that they tell you is not the letter that they're on. That's not the grade level that they're on. They're a grade level or two before that. All right. Because they keep pushing for, we got to keep working with them. We got to keep challenging them, which I'm all for that, but not with reading. You move forward as they move forward. You work with them as they are, and you keep building and you keep practicing. And I do, you do, we do approach, and you keep things moving forward. The critiques in text and complexity of the foundational skills of Fontes and Pinnell has actually recruited educators, teachers, and instructional leaders to conduct more reviews. And the rubrics and measure alignments that are being used to measure these programs to the Common Core standards, all right, and their usability in the classrooms are what are the indicators of the quality in the text and the complexity of these programs. So, like I said, Fontes and Pinnell failed to pass the first gateway. They failed to pass in the word study lessons. They have measure alignment issues in the Common Core, especially for grades K through 2. Their materials and texts are not appropriate and complex for specific grade levels, and do not build in complexity over the course of the year. Some have even said that, and reviewers have said that texts were appropriately complex for that grade level, and also that it's starting to be seen that within that grade and year, that child more than likely is not going to be able to get through the whole curriculum. Then it talks about how there's the tools in which are supposed to be used within these two programs are mismatched to their approach. And part of the review process of all of this is the two companies that own these programs are McGraw-Hill and Heinemann. It's spelled Heinemann. That's Fontes and Pinnell. All right. McGraw-Hill is M lowercase c Graw Hill. And so those are the two owners of the programs, Fontes and Pinnell and Reading by Design. All right. So that is it in a nutshell. And just knowing that alignments with the standards are just at a bare minimum. And we should be able to expect more and get more from a curriculum. And the instruction, again, has to be explicit and systematic. And balanced literacy is not the route that needs to be done. It's, oh, we do balanced literacy. That's great. You need to do structured literacy. That systematic and explicit approach that I do, you do, we do approach, where you are modeling how a child should read. Okay. Not throw them on a computer to do a benchmark assessment and score them with, let me explain how this works. All right. So this is how it works. So your child, let's just say they're on the Fontes and Pinel, okay? And this is really with iReady or anything else. All right. They're thrown on the computer. And again, this is good for practice. I will say that. It's actually very good for practice. That's it. Thrown on a computer. God knows how long. Who knows? All right. And they get to choose what they do. Okay. Maybe I'll do an example sometime. You choose what they do. All right. So say a child likes a specific area and they're good at it. They're going to choose that. Now, eventually they have to do everything, but at the same time, you know, they practice, and they answer the same damn questions. And so, of course, they're going to get better. So when you see all those 100%, oh God, I love that. When I throw a shit fit, all of a sudden we get all these benchmarks and they all got 100s. Charlie got 100 on everything. I was in an IEP this morning. All right. I sent one of my hardcore emails last night to the psychologist because I ain't playing with her. All right. And then the coordinator proceeds to lecture me the minute the IEP starts. Oh, I just want to make a comment before the meeting starts that we all need to be adults and speak with, you know, respect and this, that, and the other. So I said, are you referencing my email from last night where I said that the child's getting an FBA? I'm not giving her a choice. So we can have the meeting, but whether you kindly on your own accept the FBA that you're going to do, or you're going to go through the hard part. And I'm going to make sure that you do that FBA. And then you're going to be held accountable for not doing an FBA on a student that needs an FBA and has a history of behaviors. So I'm not playing that shit with schools anymore. They don't want things documented. They don't want things done. And they want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And I ain't playing that shit no more. I'm not doing it. So you're either going to do the evaluation with me asking you nicely, or we'll do it the hard way. But you're going to do it. I can guarantee you that you are going to do that FBA. There's not one time I have asked for an evaluation and I've been told no. Now, have I been given a hard time? Sure. Yeah, of course. But I have never been told no. Ever. Okay, let me rephrase that. I've been told no, but then they change their mind. Okay. So basically they've all gotten done. Now, where I've become more flexible, I used to say I need you to do these evaluations. You can do whatever evaluation you want. I don't care. Pick one. Pick 2, pick 5, pick 8. I don't care. But these are the ones I want you to do. And I don't talk out of my ass, so I'm assuming they do it because I'm not talking out of my ass. But parents are given a hard time if they ask for specific things, or the parents that don't know what to ask for, they are given basically what I call half-assed evaluations. And then they're providing me with these evaluations. What do you want me to do with this? So then we got to get an IEE. What's important is these norm-based assessments. I cannot begin to do anything with a child without having a norm-based assessment and knowing exactly where they are. Exactly. Okay. And what's important too is being clear, because typically a teacher isn't the one that's going to be like, nope, you can't have that. A lot of times they're the ones who tell you need it, and then administration or whoever says no, or the psychologist or whomever. And then you got your good psychologists, and then you got the ones that say, oh, I'm going to do this one because that's what I do. So it's all about who you got and then how you handle them. Sometimes I let them go. Sometimes I just, okay, you do what you're going to do. But I'm going to do what I'm going to do when you're done. And when I say that, they say, what do you mean? Well, what I mean is if you don't do a good job and you don't do the evaluations that I want, then I'm just going to, get an IEE. It's as simple as that. So go ahead, do what you want. Waste this child's time. Since we all have the child's interest at heart, let's waste the child's time. We'll wait on your assessment and then we'll get an IEE because you don't seem to care to take the parents' input into consideration because you think that you're the expert because you have the education. Do what you want. And then we'll do what we want. So, and I just have that attitude because then they typically will do what you want them to do. Because some schools are like, fine, and then you go get an IE. Very few are like that, though, have that kind of nonchalant attitude. Most will listen if you say IEE, because I don't know why, but some schools are just like, I've gotten the whole, well, what do we got to do, so you don't have to go get an IEE? Well, anytime I'm asked a question like that, open-ended, boy, do I go to town. But in all seriousness, guys, reading's important. It's imperative. It's a huge problem today. And it's way more than frustrating for me because it's one of the number one things that I deal with. And the bullshit and the games and the ridiculousness that schools just want to play. And I guess it's taken me specifically to get to the point of like, fuck it, I'm done. So y'all can do this, or I'm just going to make it really difficult for you because these kids need this. I don't ask for an evaluation just because I feel like it. I ask for one because there's a need. And I'm sorry, but if you're not smart enough, and this is sometimes to the higher ups, if you're not smart enough to think outside of the box and realize that, this child has spelling concerns, written expression, reading comprehension, this could have to do with working memory or executive functioning or, what do we need to test for that? He's not listening. He's not hearing me. There's some behavior problems. I don't just think, oh, the kid's bad. No, I think maybe there's some processing, auditory, visual. I don't know. Sometimes it's a big I don't know. And when there's that big I don't know, because there's various different issues going on, and it's kind of like this huge puzzle, then it's one of those things where it's like, all right, let's put our brains together. What do we got to do? Oh, we may not be able to just say, oh, that child needs this test. No. Smart individuals, smart educators think outside the box. I want to smack some people upside their heads when they're so stuck in their ways that they don't think outside the box. When these kids are individual and all different. What is with one is not with the other. And you have to have the approach that we just don't know sometimes. And we have to dig. So that means, because school districts will tell you, oh, well, he doesn't need that assessment. We don't see any need for that. He hasn't shown that there's a issue with that. We did assessments last year, and his assessments, there was no need there. How do you know there was no need there? You didn't test there. Well, he's never had that test. Why can't we get that test? Well, there's not a need. I mean, there has to be a need for us to give the evaluation. Yeah, there has to be a need, but there doesn't have to be a specific area in which the child needs to have the evaluation. Because there's certain evaluations that are provided that will enlighten you and tell you something that you just didn't know. Light bulb. So children will present a certain way. It's kind of like, with medical. All right. We have medical things that go on in life, right? And something may present itself in one way, but it may be a completely different thing. I always go with my back because I have back issues. So I'm like, okay, I think it was my disc 3 and 5, I think, when I had a microdiscectomy. I had surgery on my discs, and that pain that was caused by those 2 discs was what is called sciatica, which went down my leg. But it was my disc that was the issue. So had we just addressed the disc, the association to the pain would not have been linked. If I went into the orthopedic doctor and just said, oh, my back hurts, my back hurts, my back hurts, he wouldn't have been able to put it together when the missing piece was there. That had I not said, hey, it's going down my leg's feeling numb, or I'm having a lot of pain, it even is going into my foot, et cetera, et cetera. So I had to explain some of those things. Well, these kids can't do that. So we have to do that for them. And if you're an advocate, which I'm hoping to teach even more so in my membership, that you're going to learn to become an advocate. You are not going to learn how to be, ice cream sundaes with a cherry on top and kissing everybody's butt. You're going to learn to become an advocate, which means you're going to learn how to get that child what that child needs, no matter what you got to do. Because that's your mission. If the child needs it. But you're also going to learn how to become an advocate to where you can tell parents, no, we're not going to pick that problem right now. We're going to pick our battles. You're also going to become an advocate that you're able to dissect what battles you need to fight at that moment. And that once you get this battle fought, then we go after the next battle. Okay? And that's how it goes. All right? I'm not going to teach you how to approach people and not ask the right questions. And be afraid to be told, oh, you're attacking, because you're asking question after question after question after question. It kills me when I hear that. Attacking somebody is like, well, you can physically attack somebody. Ridiculing and being nasty and evil and mean and personally attacking them with something in their background or something about who they are. and attacking that. But if you are asking questions and possibly attacking the approach that they did with a child, you're not attacking so much of them than you are what they did. Okay? Then, oh, freaking well. You're going to learn in my membership that ain't a me problem. That's a you problem. All right, you got to learn. I'm going to teach that. Me problem, you problem. And you're going to say that to them too. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. You took it personally. That's a you problem. This ain't personal. This is about the child. You take that personal, that's a you problem. I can't solve that for you. You have to learn how to bring it together. All right, you got to put up those boundaries. This is not personal, y'all.
I'm alive.
Uh-huh.
Why?
I'm almost done, okay?
I think have a good night. Have a good day.
Have a good life. Have a good life. Have a good day. When I go live, she has this one thing that she repeats. Mom, are you live? Are you live? And then I'll say, yes, I'm live. As you guys have heard me say. And then she's like, okay, I'll talk to you soon. It's like she's like memorized this in her head, so she doesn't like appropriately say, are you live, Mom? What are you doing? Etc. Are you live, Mom? Are you live, Mom? Okay, I'll say yes. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you soon. And then she just added another word. I hope you have a good life. Cracks me up. But we're trying to help her kind of get the conversation piece even more, where she's using more fluent words, and so she'll jumble them sometimes. And so it's cute. And she does it when she texts better than she talks sometimes. It's interesting. And believe it or not, she spells really good. But I did teach her how to whisper into Google and ask Google how to spell something. I'm sure her speech therapist is not going to like me for that. I did. But all right, guys, so that's it. Okay. You know what you're going to learn in my membership. Don't take my membership if you think it's going to be easy, because it's not. It's not. But I am excited about all the shit you're going to get. You can get all kinds of stuff. You're going to get swag. You're going to get PDFs galore. I mean, you got a mediation checklist. You got a whole due process outline. I mean, you're going to know what to do from A to B to C to D to Z. God, I got everything. How to write your own BIP. How to do your own FBA. You name it. I got it. And I'm not kidding. I am very OCD. And I have no problem saying that. And you guys are going to get a lot. Someone told me, why are you giving them everything? I'm like, well, they need it. And, well, don't give them everything. Make them do some work on their own. But, Okay. So let's answer some questions and then I'm going to get off here. I need to work out. I've been really lazy lately. I'm trying to work out at least 4 times a week. And if I work out today and tomorrow, I'm only going to get 3. And then I feel guilty. All right. And don't forget, post a 1 below if it's your first or third time catching me live. Post 2 below if you're an oldie but goodie. If there's anything that you didn't understand or what I meant, like, for example, that certain states are adapting, the science of reading approach and the systematic learning, let me know. If you don't know a lot about Fontes and Pinnell and reading by design, I can explain that even more too. Education Weekly has the whole write-up on things. And there's even more coming. But the National Reading Panel is on this as well. It's pretty big. And I'm just glad, to be honest, because personally, Linda Mood Bell was given to my child, and I don't blame the teachers, but I blame the whole system. And especially when every single IEP meeting, it was noted how I kept saying, reading's an issue, reading's an issue, reading's an issue. What's going on? What are you guys doing? She's not improving in reading. Why is she not improving in reading? I mean, over and over and over and over, until I put in my request for due process. And, you know, it was, I mean, I wrote a 32-page request for due process when I had it. And I was done. And, you know, that's where it's going to, I guess, for some parents, you know, some of us, if you're anything like me at all, I have to get to that point of I'm done. When I'm done and you've pushed me to that point, that's it. That's it. It takes a long time for me to get there, but once I'm there, that's it. And that's where I was. And so for many parents, that's what it's going to take for you. You know, I don't know where your children are on reading. I will tell you that a lot of parents that I have talked to do not realize their child is as far behind as they are until that Linda Mood Bell evaluation. And school districts purposefully will ignore it, not ignore it as in ignore it. They didn't get it. Ignore it as in they're scared to death to review that shit with me. Because they know the science and research behind them. They know. They also know if Linda Mood Bell was called and subpoenaed to come testify at due process, they got a problem. So when that's done and it gives you a bird's eye view of exactly where your child is, because they do multiple different tests and testing some of the same things in order to get different scoring in that same area in order to get the whole picture. And I like that. And they follow that test to a T. I stayed while they did my own daughter, have gone with some of my clients and watched for a few minutes. Obviously the clients that are local, and the ones that are not local, I've been able to be on Zoom for a few minutes sometimes. It is by the book. All right. Where at school, when they assess, even though the psychologist or whoever's doing the assessment, I love how many of them, most of them, are transparent in the fact that they did end up prompting and deviated from the manual or offered this, that, and the other accommodation, again, deviating from the manual, which then makes that evaluation. And basically what it does is it takes away the ability to use that evaluation as a tool in creating the IEP in present level. Now, I will still anyway, at times, if I have a team that is good at being descriptive of the student, and I have that gut feeling that, okay, they're being transparent and they're working with us. And then we have other evaluations in which to go by, and plus I'll do a Linda Mood Bell. Even my Texas teams, I have them copy and paste that whole Linda Mood Bell evaluation right on into that IEP now. And all my clients that I haven't had that done with, because I've recently started that, they're going to do that too. Because the attorney in Texas that I said her and I can go to town, She actually told him to copy and paste it into there. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm doing from now on. From here forward, that shit is getting copied and pasted right up into that IEP and present levels. Because in that reading section, it does math too. So dependent, on, when you go in, if they're going to do the full math assessment and the reading, or some kids just do reading, but it's great. And, the math assessment's great too. You got math computation and then math crap, whatever the other one is. It starts with a C. One's math, like the basic skills. I'll have to look. But it's all of math, okay? One is the kind of technical piece, and one is the, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division piece. And one of them is like no word problems at all, and then with the multiplication, division, and all that piece, and then the other one has more technical stuff like, geometry and, different things, So yeah, so that's where we are, guys. Reading's a problem. On to something now. Reading by design, red flag. Running records, benchmarks, red flag. Let them go ahead and do their benchmarks, though. Running records, But benchmarks, let the kids do it for practice. That's fine. Do it. But don't you dare test my child on a benchmark. Okay? Not the way to get the scoring. Hi, Kim. Hi, Cheryl. Nan says, I'm pretty confident that our school district uses the spring mud. Yeah, I read that. Hi, Bill. My fourth graders' school reading books still have pictures. Some things are going to have some pictures. How extensive are the pictures? I don't mean to be like, nitpicky, but like pictures for the most part, if that makes sense. I'd have to see it. Ma'am. So on YouTube, she says, off subject, but I had a parent reach out to me today. Said her 8-year-old has been talking about hurting himself because he's being bullied by teacher. She said she requested he be moved. They denied her request. She went to I'm guessing superintendent, and school board, and they said they could not do anything. What else can she do? Well, first you got to prove that he's being bullied. And proof is still, he comes home, record his butt. Is he screaming? Is he crying? When I record a child, to be able to present it to a school district, I'm very meticulous in how I do it because I want it to be how I would want it with fidelity. If I'm saying that I want them to, because I've signed this for my own daughter, and instead of going and observing her in class, I've had where they've recorded her, right? And I tell them, I know my child. Don't play with me. You better send me an authentic, different videos. I want several. I want at least 6 different times, different days. And I know what my child wore that day. And I say, I want it for a period of time. And don't act differently. Just do what you do. If she screws up, she screws up. I don't care. I'm not looking for the screw up. I'm looking at what she does. I just want to see it. All right. So I don't want them on the defensive. I don't want them, I just want them to know that I just want to observe my own child, Don't think I'm coming after you because, something went wrong during the recording. Don't worry about that. I just want the transparency in it. If I have questions or if I had, concerns, and I would talk to them. I probably wouldn't even do a big email if it was something that I could just chit chat. But with that, I would record. If the child, I'm guessing the child's told his mom that he's being bullied, I would record him. Just get like a stand like this, for your phone or iPad or whatever, and just put it on play. And so that when you present the video to the school system, or the school, they know it wasn't like tampered with or, a setup or whatnot, and that it's real. And then talk to him. Don't prompt him. Talk to him. So, and that's just what happened. Why are you upset? If he's throwing a fit, screaming, yelling, throwing stuff, record it. You want that shit recorded. 100%. You want the fit recorded. If they're crying, whatever it is they're doing. And explaining what happened. The child's name, who's bullying them. That's important. So, and just keep having them, why are you upset? Why were you upset yesterday? Because then you're not prompting them. You're just saying, why were you upset yesterday? What happened yesterday? What happened, in the morning? Did anything happen at lunch? Did anything happen in the afternoon? Let them tell you the story. So, it sucks if they're nonverbal or they can't, or, that's just devastating. But if he's telling mom, then get him talking, get it on recording, and show the school. Go into the director of special ed and play it. That's what I would do. And then I would record them every freaking day. I would create a timeline. And then I would keep emails. I would send emails. I would send emails to the director of special ed, the superintendent, the school board. I'd send a letter to the governor, the senator. I'd send it to everybody if my child was being bullied. I'd be up in that school throwing a shit fit. I'd be at the principal's office. If your child's being bullied and they're talking like that, you need to take action. Like now. Don't just call them anymore and email them. Show up every day. If the child is in a self-contained class, put in everybody. This is everybody. Put it in an email and request a camera in the self-contained classroom. By law, they have to put it in within 30 days. Okay? You don't just get to watch the video when you feel like it. Don't work like that. There has to be an incident. If your child comes home and says they're bullied, you can ask to, especially if you're starting to email and show pictures and show videos and all that. Oh yeah, you can go in and see that video. They'll set up a time and you go in and you see it with, whoever higher up, and you watch that damn video. So there's a lot of things that you can do. Now, obviously, if your child's not in a self-contained classroom, you can't request the video. It won't happen. But if your child is in a self-contained classroom, by law, you can ask. In most states now, it has been passed. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's almost in all states now. Actually, I think it is in all states. All states I've worked in. I've worked in almost every state. So you ask for here's the timeline. Hang on. Here it is. All right. So special education video audio monitoring, new video surveillance request process. The parent or legal guardian is the only one that can request it, or district trustee or a staff member. Then the campus principal emails the request to the assistant superintendent. for special education within 3 school days of your request. Then the assistant superintendent for special education approves or denies the request and notifies the campus principal within 2 days. If it's approved, then assistant superintendent for special education, the approval process is cake. Okay, so the approval process, they don't got much of a choice if it's a self-contained classroom. Okay. Superintendent for special education sends email request with approval from assistant superintendent for special education to facilities, services, security, maintenance department. Then within 2 days, it goes to special education video auto monitoring group or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's something. And then they have to have it in within 30 days. It's 28 days. 28 days. And so it has to be ordered within 28 days and purchased, and then installed and completed by 30 is what it says. And then if it's denied, then the principal has to tell you within 5 days. But the requirements are on your state, not your, I wouldn't go to the Department of Education or the school website. I would just go to your state law on video surveillance requests for special education self-contained classrooms, and find out the law and the law number, and then you can copy and paste that into your email, and then it'll also tell you the stipulations, like but basically it's your child has to be in a self-contained classroom. All right, you don't have to have like an ABC reason. My child's in a self-contained classroom. I have lots of concerns. I'm requesting a video audio monitoring system and camera in my child's classroom. I expect to hear back from you within a timely manner and it be installed within the 30-day time frame. Thank you. All right. All right. Nan says it is a look at the picture to predict the story. Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't want to do that because that's guessing. Let me look at the picture. Does the picture tell me what I need to know so I can at least explain this? Because that has nothing to do with word recognition. It has nothing to do with language knowledge. It has nothing to do with anything other than let me look at the picture and like play with if I can figure this out, you know? And the picture is not going to adequately tell the story. It's going to be them guessing what the picture means versus just reading the words and understanding what the picture means. Can you tell us more information about the land builder? For the next 5 days, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. If you message me on WhatsApp, I will give you the information right now. Pull it up. All right. So you go to WhatsApp on your app store, in your app store. All right. You click it, download it, sign up through Facebook or your email. And then you click this link to find me. Okay. That's it. All right. So I just posted that. So message me within 5 days and then I'll get your information and I will call and get you in. All right. Then you can look at get the evaluation. And we go from there. Okay. 3. I have 3, Stephanie. That's it for next month. I I am so bogged down. It's crazy. I got 3. I think yesterday I said 3. So I have 3 spots. Like literally this month I have an IEP every day the rest of the month. And then I have 1, 2, 4 requests to write for mediation and due process. Texas is giving me a run for my money. For sure. So yeah, give me a call, Stephanie. Okay. So I guess that's it. We'll go from there. Okay. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I know a lot of people, Friday nights are awful for me to go live, but it's just an easier day because, you know, I take Friday afternoon typically off to kind of get some things done. And I don't have an IEP. So that's why I go live typically on a Friday afternoon. And then everybody's at work, they're leaving, everything's crazy, you know. So, but that's okay. Message me if you need anything. I do have 3 spots available for next month. You want to get going now, though, because there's a lot you got to get me before, you know, we get going. So that's it. Have a wonderful weekend. I don't know if it's supposed to be nice in your area. It's going to be cold this weekend, and then all next week's supposed to be like close to 70 here. But it's going to be freezing tomorrow and Sunday. I'm like, really? All right. I will talk to you guys later. And I know today was boring when it comes to reading. I mean, I know everybody's not as interested in reading as I am, but everybody who comes to me, their child's struggling, you know? And many times I had no idea. I didn't realize that. I thought it was this, you know? Because it's normal to be, to put that faith and trust into something, and it's almost like you're brainwashed. I was. And I think that's why I feel or felt more, like earlier I did, but, you know, like I failed and, you know, all of those things. So it is what it is. But we get up, we pick ourselves back up, we move on, and we make it right? So have a great weekend. I'll see you guys soon. And I will be going live again, either tomorrow, maybe Monday. But just make sure you click notifications on the page, on the group. And definitely subscribe to YouTube, like me on TikTok and Instagram. Okay. If you haven't joined the group, it's Autism on Rocks IEP group on Facebook. And I am going to be adding people this weekend. I'm sorry for those of you who have had people message me and say, are you going to add me to the group? I'm like, yes, I have not been on. I apologize. So I'm going to be going on this weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.